A dangerous escalation. Iran's direct missile attacks. Iran's recent missile barrage against Israel marks a significant escalation in the long-standing conflict. This is not just another proxy war, it is a direct confrontation. Twice this year, Iran has launched missiles at Israeli soil, shattering any pretense of restraint. The latest attack, however, was on a different scale. It dwarfed the April attack in both size and scope. Hundreds of missiles, including the more difficult to intercept ballistic missiles, rained down on Israel. While Israel claims to have intercepted most of the projectiles, the damage was significant. This attack targeted the heart of Israel, striking Tel Aviv and key military infrastructure. The message was clear. Iran is willing to directly target Israel, and it possesses the firepower to do so. This unprecedented escalation has sent shockwaves through the region and beyond. It has also raised serious questions about the future of the Middle East. The crumbling facade, diplomacy's failure in the Middle East. The current crisis lays bare the utter failure of diplomacy in the Middle East. For years, international efforts have struggled to contain the simmering tensions between Israel and Iran. These efforts have proven woefully inadequate. Ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas have stalled, achieving nothing but a fragile pause in the violence. The assassination of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah further inflamed the situation, pushing Iran towards a more aggressive posture. With each passing day, the chance for a peaceful resolution dwindles. The lack of trust between the parties is palpable. There is no clear path towards de-escalation. Instead, the cycle of violence continues, fueled by mistrust, historical grievances, and a dangerous game of brinkmanship. The road to confrontation. A timeline of rising tensions. The current crisis is the culmination of years of escalating tensions and miscalculations. It is a complex web of interconnected conflicts, each feeding the other. Understanding this history is crucial to grasping the gravity of the current situation. Israel's ground incursion into southern Lebanon, a response to Hezbollah attacks, added another layer to the conflict. The ongoing war in Gaza, now a chronic wound on the region, continues to claim lives and fuel resentment. Israel's targeting of Iranian-backed groups, from Hezbollah in Lebanon to the Houthis in Yemen, has only emboldened Iran. Each strike is met with retaliation, creating a vicious cycle of violence with no end in sight. The assassination of key figures like Nasrallah and Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh has poured gasoline on an already raging fire. Section 4. Israel's options: retaliation and the risk of wider war. Israel now faces a critical decision. The pressure to respond forcefully to Iran's provocations is immense. Domestically, there are calls for decisive action, for a crushing blow that will deter future attacks. The most likely target for Israeli retaliation is Iran's nuclear program. Israel views a nuclear-armed Iran as an existential threat, a red line that cannot be crossed. An attack on Iran's nuclear facilities would be a high-stakes gamble, however. Iran has vowed to respond forcefully to any attack on its soil, potentially dragging the entire region into a wider war. The risk of miscalculation is high. A measured response carries its own risks. It could be perceived as weakness, emboldening Iran further. Israel is caught between a rock and a hard place, facing an impossible choice with potentially catastrophic consequences. Section 5. The U.S. role, a delicate balancing act. The United States, Israel's staunchest ally, is walking a diplomatic tightrope. The U.S. has pledged unwavering support for Israel's right to defend itself. The U.S. Navy is actively involved in intercepting Iranian missiles, and there is a growing U.S. military presence in the region. However, the U.S. is also acutely aware of the risks of a wider war. Direct confrontation with Iran could have devastating consequences, not just for the region, but for the world. The U.S. is caught between its commitment to Israel's security and the need to prevent a catastrophic escalation. The U.S. is pursuing a two-pronged strategy: deterrence and diplomacy. The U.S. hopes that by bolstering Israel's defenses and demonstrating its own military might, it can deter further Iranian aggression. Simultaneously, the U.S. is engaging in frantic diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the situation. Section 6. The future of the Middle East, a region on edge. The Middle East today stands at a precipice. The current crisis, if not contained, has the potential to ignite a regional conflagration with global repercussions. The lack of trust, the proliferation of weapons, and the volatile mix of actors create a combustible environment. The international community must act decisively to prevent further escalation. This requires a multifaceted approach. First, there must be an immediate ceasefire to halt the bloodshed. Second, meaningful negotiations between all parties are essential. This will be a long and arduous process, but there is no alternative to dialogue. Finally, the international community must address the root causes of the conflict, including the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.